Good morning and welcome to the Saturday special of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Religion has always been there, but is its hold loosening? And what's going to happen to this concept of religion tomorrow? Who are going to be tomorrow's gods? Long before Muhammad, long before Jesus, long before Buddha, there was Zoroaster. 3,500 years ago in Bronze Age, Iran saw a vision of one supreme God. Approximately about a couple of thousands years before that, India, China saw a vision of not one God but multitude of gods. Coming back to Zoroastrianism, we find that within 1,000 years, the world's first great monotheistic religion, the official faith of the mighty Persian Empire, its fire temples tended by millions of adherents, was no more there. The empire collapsed. Zoroastrians were persecuted, converted to a new faith that was of their conquest Islam. And another 1500 years later today, it's a dying faith and a few thousand worshippers all over the world. On the other side, the polytheistic religion like Hinduism survived all that. What's happening is amazing, but on the other side, Islam, another monotheistic religion, an Abrahamic religion, is also expanding and increasing its followers. As a matter of fact, the reality is that we have to accept that religions are born, they grow, and they die. And we are, as human beings, are blind to this fact of reality. We take for granted that the religions would be there forever. Even if the name of the religion remains, the shape, the content of that religion changes. When someone tries to start a new religion, it's often dismissed as a cult. When we recognize the faith, we treat its teachings and traditions as timeless and sacrosanct. When religion dies, it becomes myth, like Nordic religions. Incas, we are mostly not taking them as religion, but as cults and as myths. And the claim of the religion to the sacred truth expires. Now you'll be amazed at why Hinduism is living, even despite all that. That is because the form has changed. From pre-Vedic Hinduism had nothing in common with the post-Vedic Hinduism. And now there is a trend towards the revival of Sanatana Dharma. But I'm not taking religion as different religion, I'm taking religion as a concept. If you have seen that today's dominant religions have continuously evolved throughout history, and what we see as dominant religions today were not what they were. Early Christianity, for example, was truly a broad church. Ancient documents include yarns about Jesus' family life and testament. And to the nobility of Judas, today Judas is a dirty word. It took 3 centuries for the Christian church to consolidate around the canon of scriptures. And then it split again into Eastern Orthodox and Catholic churches. And then it has continued to grow. But there are today more than 100 disparate groups. And if you believe your faith has arrived at ultimate truth, you might reject the idea that it will change at all. It would, no matter how deeply held your beliefs may be. They are subject to change. And if religions have changed so dramatically in the past, how they might change in the future? Is there any substance to claim that the belief in God and deities will die out altogether, or that they will be only things of the past? And as our technologies, as the civilization become increasingly complex, could entirely new form of worship emerge? What happens if artificial intelligence develops a soul? So it's a good starting point that why was religion there? Basically, religion has been there as a sports mechanism. I always say a cripple needs a crutch to walk. And a person who is not deficient needs some outside agency to rely on. And when Voltaire said in the 18th century, he wrote, if God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. And because Voltaire was a trenchant critic of organized religion, this quip is often quoted cynically, but he was perfectly sincere. He was arguing that belief in God is necessary for society to function, even if you don't approve of the monopoly of the church. Many modern students of the religion agree. You see, religion basically serves the needs of the society. And that's why one has to take a functionalist point of view. There are many functionalist hypotheses, from the idea of Marx that religion is the opium of the masses, to the proposal that faith supports abstract intellectualism for science and law. But the most important thing is that religion is a necessary gluing factor, cementing factor. This is social cohesion. If religion was not there, the society would be divided. Each religion has basically been locational based. It expanded, but the base remained the same. So the long-term, extraordinary complex culture pressures, selection of process, they were responsible, and religions brought together community. And herein lies a seed of disruption of religion. Today the communities are breaking up. It's becoming a global world. The cohesion that was in the localized communities is possibly not needed today. And since that's not needed, the pull of the religion is decreasing. So any religion that does endure has to offer its adherent tangible benefits. Christianity, for example, was just one of the many religious movements that came and mostly went during the course of the Roman Empire. Islam came because of the disparate Arabian society. So you might say that religion follow the functions of particular society. Particular, definitely localized. Hunter-gatherers, for example, in the old days, tended to believe that all objects, whether animal, vegetable or mineral, have supernatural aspects. And then the concept of animalism, animistic, came up. And the word was endued with supernatural forces. God, like fire, like rain, buddhi, and not only in Hindu, but in all. Look at the Greek mythology, Zeus, Neptune. So this was the beginning, because what you could not explain, you gave it a status of a deity. And then it slowly changed. An exception is Shinto, the Japanese ancient animist religion, is still widely practiced, but all other, the animalistic aspect has been lost. And then came the religion into a single, watchful, all-powerful God. Whether they call it Yahweh, or Christ, or Allah, or Vaheguru, or Rab, or whatever you call it. And the belief in these big gods allowed the formation of societies in a large number. And that belief constantly causes to sharing. And that's why it was very strong in the old communities. Even today, you see, the traditional close-knit societies are more religious. So many of societies are huge and multicultural today. And this multiculturalism is destroying the linking effects of religion. So given all that, there is a growing consensus that the future of religion that has no future. Then the concept of heaven and hell has undergone a change. Imagine there is no heaven. So powerful intellectual and political currents have driven this proposition since 20th century. The march of science is leading to disenchantment of society. The curiosity, the desire to know. So supernatural answers to the big questions are no longer needed today. They know that death is ahead. So the communist states like Russia and China adopted atheism as a state policy. So actually in the 21st century, article of faith has lost its meaning. And people are now looking at the interviews and the social surveys conducted by various organizations in Pew shows that the number of agnostics is increasing, not atheists. But the agnostics, they say, well, if there's God, so what? If there's no God, so what? The disenchantment has set in. So the religion is not disappearing on a global scale. No, let's be very clear about that. Because this is going to be traditional, and traditional societies, even then congregate, even a global village, they tend to be together, and that ancient bindings sometimes come up. And we are seeing that happening all over the world. Have you seen that what we say, the cultural ghettos, even in multicultural societies? For example, in Canada, where we live, places like Brampton, Surrey are the bedrocks of Indians. Richmond Hill and Vancouver, bedrocks of Chinese. Like that, you know. So, the Pew Research Center modeled the future of the great religions based on demographics, migrations, and conversions. And it shows that there is a modest belief in the people's belief. But strangely, one religion is growing. And the growth of Islam is supposed to be that by 2050, 87% would be directly or indirectly believing in this religion. You see, the other reason has been secularization of the West. There has been secularization of the West. There has been secularization of the East. But in Middle East, the concept of secularism is absent and is conspicuous by its absence. It doesn't live. So what happens? When secularism forces are more predominant, the hold of religion would decrease. And that's decreasing. We see that all over. Now, some societies where the authorities are pro-religion, then there's a revival process. But that is only a small factor. Secondly, the religion would not abolish absolutely, though everybody says so. I don't believe that. Even in globalization, as I said, there are ghettos, the cultural ghettos, which will give religion its strength, resilience. It will bend, but it will not break. Second is when the natural calamities are there and the people are afraid, then they again tend to become religious. You know what happened when the earthquake was there in New Zealand, in Christchurch? People affected by the earthquake became significantly more religious than those people who had not been affected by this earthquake. So the people in Christchurch were 100% religious. That's it. Warning from heaven that we are becoming irreligious. So, religion as an organized force received impetus when there is a, shall I say, natural calamity. Yes. So then, another thing is to be seen, that religion would always have some hold in some shape, because 3/4 of atheists and 90% of agnostics are open to the existence of supernatural phenomena, including everything from astrology to supernatural beings. And then the coming in of aliens. The concept of the aliens being there shows that there must be something other, something evolving. What that is remains hidden, mystery, enigma, a puzzle. But the fact remains that there are many ways of being an unbeliever. But there are many ways of being a believer as well. So now the things are changing. The religion is, as an organized unit, is losing its strength, except only in one religion, that is Islam. Others are losing their tenacity, their strength. But at the same time, the spirituality concept is increasing. And like many cliches, this is rooted in truth. Now, is there going to be the return of the old gods? I was reading Linda Woodruff, The Spiritual Revolution, and she says that, and then I thought there is some logic in what she says, that fitting into established order of things towards practices designed by human beings to accentuate and foster religion's sense of who they are. So, if the organized religion does not embrace this shift, then that congregation would dwindle. But if it recognizes that shift, then the congregation would not dwindle. It might become less vocal, but it will retain its personality. Now, religious is waning in those countries which are more immigrant-oriented, because the various religions, when they come together, dilute every religion. The Muslims living, say, in Canada, in UK, may not be as narrow-minded as those people living in Afghanistan or in Pakistan or in Nigeria. And then another thing you might have noticed, that the countries which are very poor are more religious in nature. Look at Rwanda. Look at Nigeria. Absolutely poor, but absolutely firm in their religion, because that's a binding factor, and that is the something on which they depend on. The prosperity angle is often ignored, and more prosperous a country is, the less believer it would be in organized religion. So what happens then? People start constructing faith of their own, and then those religions become self-directed religions. What happens? Reality is the pick and choose. In a global society, in a multicultural society, the people with the reasoning and logic pick up one aspect from one religion, the second from the other, the third from the other. For example, this concept of langar of Sikh religion is becoming very, very potent. There are soup kitchens in Christianity as well. There is zakat and food giving in Islam, but not on that sustained level. So many religions have syncretic moments, and they become assimilated. For example, now Christmas was purely an Easter in Islamic religion, in Christian religion. But even the non-Christians believe in the Christmas because of the intermingling. Diwali. And I was amazed, that Holi, which was a typical Hindu festival, is now celebrated all over the world as a festival of colors. They have their own shapes. But the assimilation, syncretization is remarkable. And do you know that even in archaic societies and harsh societies like China, for example, there is a curious mixture of Mahaya Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. So this question of pick and choose is going to loosen the impact of the organized religion. So new religious movements often seek to preserve the central tenets of old religion while stripping off the trappings that have become stifling, old-fashioned, and not valid. I've seen groups who claim to be religious, they represent Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam. And quite possible, in Islam even, the future may only be Ahmadiyas. Shias, Sunnis and others may be on the sidelines. And the Bible is being rewritten. In my next Saturday, I'm going to discuss the rewritten Bible which is going to be released next year. And it might emerge from the current turmoil that religion would be there in different forms. The first form of rigid code would be loosened. We have seen this happen, and these spiritual revolutions, they came of age in 90s, 60s and 70s. Universality in outlook. And that's why even the old established religion want to pick up from the scriptures which show cosmopolitan approach. They never talked about that. But now looking at the globalization, they talk about it. And things are changing. But the fact of the tragedies, of the social cohesion, of the fears, it will not be there. Now, for example, in Iceland, a small and fast-growing faith is taking place. And this is a Satru faith. This is based on old Norse customs and mythologies. Sanatana Dharma in India is coming up in a big force. Not Hindutva. People are talking about Hindutva. No. It's Sanatana Dharma which is coming up. And there's a revival in Islam in a more reformed manner. And that's why I said Ahmadiyas are going to be the future of Islam. They might not be recognized by as Muslims today by Pakistan and others, but the reality nobody can deny. And this what's happened in Iceland, I told you, that this small group, Astro faith, which hardly had 100 members, today has thousands of them. It's very small but fast growing, it's dramatically growing, adopting old Norse customs and technology. And then similar movements are coming in Europe. Druidry in UK. In Sikh religion, there is Radha Swami and others. They have taken up the Sikh scriptures and they are turning them into their own faith. So there are niche activities at the moment. And sometimes there's more about playing with symbolism than heartfelt practice. So, but then it's there. So reality is that the word religion is going to be there. And one thing which is going to be there is the invisible hand of the market. Which religion is able to market itself, or which group is going to market itself. And appropriate metaphors have got to be changed. And with the coming in of those metaphors, you would see that the whole thing would change. And Hindu nationalists in India, Christian evangelists in US, Ahmadiyas all over the world, so they are winning back. And this is a precedent. For example, in 1700, Christianity was ailing in US. It has become dull, formal, and the age of reasoning was coming up. And then came an event called the Great Awakening. And then the people started again going back to church. So there was withdrawal and then there was... So this resurgence is always there. And Pope Francis was right when he said that if the Catholic Church did not acknowledge the male domination, then it would become museum. So historically, religions rise or fall, and they do it with a political sport. When the political sport is there, then even the practically dormant religions become revived. And why did Christianity grow? Because it was adopted by Roman Empire. Why did Islam grow? Because of the Persian Empire, the Ottoman Empire, and the Custom Empire. Why is Sanatana going up? Because of BJP being in power in India. So, we already have some idea of what's going to happen. There's a Duke's ex machina. So, full position is quite clear that organized religions are going to lose their hold. People are not going to be more religious, but they're going to be more spiritual. And that's why the revived religions are more concentrating on spirit, on the ideas, on the ethics, than on the rituals and the formalities. Now, suppose you have a supercomputer, you turn it on and ask whether there's a God. There used to be no reply. But now there's a reply, and the reply is very clear. Yes, God is a super machine. If there can be self-driving cars, which hit the headline in 2017, why cannot be a self-driving evolution process? So the way of the future is bringing about a peaceful transition, the people thought. And the vision seems to be more benevolent. For religion, no. For spirituality, yes. So this being there, religion in its existing form may not be there, but the new gods would come. The new gods would be different, more logical, more reasonable. It's just like, as I said, like spring equinox or the harsh winter of spring equinox comes. And there's a purification. How do you purify? For example, what we have holy, colors and burning of holy. So fire is supposed to purify. So the world is going to be rid of the environmental ills. And the whole thing is going to be there, different. It is like 1,000 years Nowruz, the Iranian new festival, has been, New Year is celebrated. So what we are going to see is transhumanism. The new religion is going to be transhumanism. Climatology, myriads of the new religious movements. But let's believe the religion per se never dies. The form would die, the content would change. And the religion that span the world today may not be durable, but new faiths would be there, more logical, more reasonable, more human, more global in approach. And that is the future of the religion and the future gods who believe in these concepts. Thank you.